Greetings, everyone, and welcome to March 2024's edition of the MACMA Minute. I am your host, Brandon Jones, and Executive Director at MACMA. For those of you, if this is your first time hearing the audio version of the MACMA Minute, I just want to give a quick overview of what we're doing for the month so that you are informed on what is happening with our organization. And this month, it is our anniversary. Yes, our birthday is coming up here. We are turning 34 years old. MACMA has been around almost as long as I've been alive. I'm a little bit older than MACMA, but it's great for our birthday to be here. We want to make sure that you're celebrating with us and learn a little bit about our history, who we are, and what we do. So this month, we're going to take a look at MACMA's past, and we're going to celebrate the amazing things to come. And we want to make sure that you can contribute in many different ways in helping us build upon the amazing things that we're doing here within our organization. So one thing I want to start off by sharing with you is our current pillars of what we do within our organization. There are three pillars that we focus on as an organization. The first one is professional development. And we do professional development in a few different ways. One, we do it in conference form. We do two major conferences every year. The first conference that we do at the year is what we call MACMHCon, and we're going to have MACMHCon 2024 coming up this year, and you're going to hear about that in next month's MACMA Minute. We're going to give you a nice overview of our 2024 conference, and we do that in Duluth, so it's a nice, good time in the great northern Minnesota, where we invite as many folks as we can up there to enjoy a good time and good information when it comes to children's mental health. And then our second conference happens in November, which is our Infant and Early Childhood Mental Health Conference, which we call our IEC conference. And that takes place again in November every year. And we typically do that within the Twin Cities Metro. So be sure to check that one out as well. But other offerings that we have for professional development are through our training series that we do on a monthly basis. Most of those trainings are virtual. We do a few in-person ones per year, where we invite professionals, caregivers, and parents to come and learn from some of the best experts in the field on various different topics that are going on. It's a great way for you professionals to get those continuing education credits, and it's a great way for parents and caregivers to be informed on what's happening in the space and world of children's mental health. And then we also have publications. Right now, we have an infant and early childhood guide that we have on sale, and pretty soon we're going to be adding more, but I can't unleash all the details, or we have some cool stuff coming up in our publications area where we are informing and sharing various different levels of information when it comes to children's mental health. So more to come on there. I'll probably at a MACMA Minute, maybe in June or so, I'll share some more information as we kind of unveil what we're doing in that space. So that's one pillar. Pillar number two is we work directly with parents and caregivers through our parenting coaching programs. And really, those programs are just aimed to help parents navigate the mental health system and the education system throughout our state. We know that things can get very complicated, and when you have a child who has a mental health diagnosis, it is not easy to attend to all the things that happen and all the needs. So we try to ease some of that stress for parents and caregivers and helping them just navigate and get the things that they need so that their child and their family is as well as possible. And then the third pillar is that we work directly with youth. We work with youth as well. Currently, our main program is called Be a Leader, where we're engaging young people in a version of leadership development, but really it's around building their coping and life skills as best as possible with the catalyst of understanding how mental health shows up. And those young people, we do this programming all across the Twin Cities metro area, but right now most of our programming is focused on Minneapolis. And the other youth program that we have that's currently on pause is Fidgety Fairy Tales, which most people are familiar about as far as our direct service program, which is a theater mental health program where we take classic stories that children are familiar with and we add mental health themes to them. And then we reenact those through theater, and people get an opportunity to learn from some of their favorite stories about mental health. So it's a cool program. Right now that's on pause. We hope to get that up and rolling here pretty soon in the year of 2024. But that's a little bit about who we are and what we've done more recently. But let's talk a little bit about our past. Who have we been? Where do we come from? Where are we going? We'll get to that in a moment. So MACMA started 34 years ago. It's been quite some time, 34 years ago. And at that time, our founder, Deborah Sackhog, was was engaging in work around parents and not just advocacy work, but doing some of that parent skill development pieces as well, and really assisting parents navigate this thing in mental health. You have to remember, 34 years ago, we knew about mental health, but we weren't in the same place as we are today. So it was very scary. There was a lot of shame and guilt around even admitting that your child or even yourself was struggling with the mental health diagnosis. So the help was definitely needed, and organizations were just getting started in this space of assisting families and working with folks who may be struggling with mental health diagnosis. So Deborah Sackhog and a bunch of folks who rallied around her came up with the concept of creating what we now know as MACMA. And that organization started off with various different level of programming, but it was mostly focused on parents and caregivers. And over time, that has developed into professional development and working with the folks who work with young people. And over time, that is it has evolved into what we do today. So that's a little bit about our origin story. We've always been community based. We've always been child centered, and we always have included parents and caregivers. And we use that terminology. Uh, we use that terminology, intentionally, where we say parents and caregivers because we know that family dynamics are very different, and we know that um, people come to us in very different type of dynamics, and sometimes who your family is may not be a blood relative or biological relative of you. It may be someone else. So we do include those folks in our programming and how we work with their children. So, that's one thing that we're very intentional about how we engage and how we work. What else can I say about us? Our mission has shifted over time. Our current mission is focusing on the optimum mental health from infancy to young adulthood. And our goal is to make sure that we can do that to the best of our ability through the programming that we offer. So we've expanded some of our scope when it comes to mental health in quote unquote young people to looking at from infancy all the way to young adulthood. And young adulthood really expands to about 24 years old. And we expect to develop more programming and services for those young adults. That's an area that we know just historically in the nonprofit space doesn't always get a focus unless there's system involved people. Once you turn 18, a lot of services fall off. And we know that, that's typically where a lot of mental health diagnoses start to actually formulate is 18, 19, and 20 years old. So we know that there's help needed in those spaces. So we want to be an organization that's at the forefront of serving that demographic as well. And then on the other end of that kind of continuum is the infancy to early adulthood. We see ourselves as one of the current pillars in the early infant and childhood mental health space within the state of Minnesota. So we got those two ends covered for sure. And it's making sure that we just develop programming within the middle. How do we help with the elementary school age children? How do we help with those, pre-adolescents and those adolescents as well, and make sure that we have service offerings for all of those folks. So that's a little bit about us. That's a little bit about MACMA. We are a growing organization, but my goal, my vision since taking over for the founder has been to continue to do what we've always done and just do it well and add on pieces around that to the best of our ability. So hopefully you all are seeing that and feeling that with things like the MACMA Minute, seeing various different partnerships we're developing and various different service offerings that we're doing. And if you're interested in partnering with us, please feel free to do so. Reach out. We are always open to finding new ways to help community.